with me opening up about the old Bambaataa situation, coming from where I come from, it's hard to tell people that's what you went through without getting picked on, without getting teased and going through the scrutiny. It's not something easy to deal with, but for the most part, I'm good. I'm good now. I never felt better.
One thing I've said to people in the past when it comes to like how to become a successful content creator, one thing I've said in the past is you need to be willing to give a piece of flesh. You need to be able to be so open with who you are that the audience can't help but realize that this is real. And when I have seen you be so open about that shit, to me, that's very much indicative of that. Like, You've taken your worst trauma, your worst pain, and put it right out there on Front Street. And I feel like in some senses, I've seen a lot of people try to use it against you. It's kind of like the default insult that when you're beefing with somebody, they're just going to come make some jokes about that. I've seen a lot of people do it. But ultimately, I guarantee you there's way more people that can relate to that experience and see you as somebody who persevered through it and that's possible, right?
Well, at the end of the day, people hate to see somebody that does what I do just overcome the shit that I've been through. I done had people hit me with everything but the kitchen sink, like on some real shit. And I had to endure and endure and endure. Now I'm good.
Okay. Could you have imagined a version of you becoming a content creator that didn't involve you being so transparent about those experiences?
I couldn't imagine me being a content creator, period. If you would have told me 10 years ago, I'll be doing this and I'll be sitting here, I couldn't believe it at all.
Why is that? You felt like you were just going to be a street dude forever? Or?
Somewhat, not so much of a street dude turned revolutionary. Just somebody that stood for something, not realizing that me opening up about my past traumas, there's so many people. They say 1 out of 3 girls go through that, and with little boys, you'll never know because they never tell. So I never realized. My moms used to always tell me, like, I'm here for a reason. I'm special. No matter what me and my mother went through, she always told me that I was special. But at some point in time, she would tell me that she thought my sister took my blessings because my sister's like a big time pastor around the country or whatever the case. So she was like, "Oh, you lost your blessings," but in some cases she spoke life into me, and I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, you were born into an environment that very much, it's tough to make it out of that environment, and you can't blame a kid for the shit that they go through. Or I really feel like I'm personally not a believer in free will. Like you didn't choose where you were born. You didn't choose your personality. You didn't choose how tall you were, how strong you are, how fat you are, etc. Like all these things are basically things that like you don't get to make that choice. So I feel like to blame somebody for where they end up in life is oftentimes counterproductive because so much of what got you into that position is not of your own choosing.
Right. What they say, what don't kill you will make you stronger. It's like all the things that I had to endure. Now, I tell people I don't live in a prison of what people feel about me because I've been through some of the worst and it made me who I am today. I can't live with no regrets.
So when did you, I've watched a bunch of stuff telling your life story, but I feel like a lot of times they kind of gloss over you becoming a content creator. So what was the pivotal moment that made you realize that you wanted to start putting your story out there on social media, on YouTube, etc.?
Well, so after I came out on Afrika Bambaataa, it's like.
So that was how you came out, is that you were talking about on your YouTube channel, or was it on
No, I wasn't even a content creator. What I did was I was on Facebook breeding dogs. I had some nice dogs.
Right, okay.
I had 5,000 followers on Facebook. One day I came out on BAM on Facebook, and because at that point in time, Zulu Warriors was a security company that was started by Muhammad Stanley Bell and Noel and them, and I guess they felt like me coming out on BAM was going to hurt all the little businesses that was established with people that didn't have nothing to do with what BAM was doing. Some did, some didn't, and once I started telling my story on other people's platform, it was so much going on, so much more that I had to say. The next thing I did was I got in my car, in my driveway, and I said why my title was, my first video on YouTube was why I came forward on Afrika Bambaataa. And I told my story why I came forward on him.
Right.
You know, so from there on, I just kept making videos based off of hip hop and things related to you know, what I've been through, because I was on it heavy. I was on dealing with child abuse heavy. And I was also dealing with the things that, you know, that was based around hip hop, because what a lot of people fail to realize, when you're dealing with an Afrika Bambaataa and a Hassan Campbell, this is the first family of hip hop.
Right.
Bronx River Projects. When people talk about, before there was an O Block, there was a Bronx River.
Oh, yeah.
Legendary projects.
Definitely. And I mean, you coming from such a street background, was it a hurdle for you to get over in your mind where you kind of felt like, to some extent, that this felt like telling? Like just sharing experiences, talking about experiences that could potentially get somebody locked up, or at the very least, you know, hurt their standings in the community. Like I'm 100,000% behind you in that. I feel like, you know, it was ultimately for the greater good. But was that a little bit of a challenge for you to be able to open up on camera about that?
It was. That's why I told people from the jump I would never go to court on him.
Okay.
But then I started getting pressure from, you know, the people saying go to court. You know, I should go to court. I should and I'm like, for one, I don't want to testify. I don't want to see the nigga go to jail. And I don't want his money. But eventually after some time, I went and got a lawyer, not realizing that the lawyer that I didn't go get the lawyer. I dealt with a lawyer that Layla Wills sent me. And Layla Wills just so happened to give Ron Savage the same lawyer. So now when Ron Savage gets the same lawyer, I'm not knowing the whole time that Ron Savage is acting like he's fighting the same fight. Well, actually I did. I'm lying. I called him out from the jump. Said there's something wrong with this nigga. I named the nigga Kaiser Sauce. But everybody told me I was being too hard. And see, what I got to do is, what I have a problem was, I see through people from the jump. I got a gift where I can read people. But with Ron Savage, everybody was like, yo, you picking on this nigga. Now let's fast forward to where we at. This dude running around talking about that was all a misunderstanding. Bam is a hero.
So he kind of got co-opted by the other side at a certain point, you think?
Of course.
Really?
Of course.
That's crazy. It's like kind of hard to imagine how somebody could be swayed to go over to the dark side, per se.
Well, when you're dealing with master manipulators, or better yet, when you're dealing with somebody also like Ron Savage, that he ain't got no friends. He's not an attractive dude. He's not a dude that have many, you know what I mean? He's a loner. And he's mentally disturbed in some ways, or whatever the case may be. But what I will say is he understands what he's doing.
Right. I mean, I've been in the position of, you know, you have friends who are doing fucked up shit or have done fucked up shit. You know, I've had friends in the past where I knew that they were in abusive relationships with their girlfriend. And I just kind of kept quiet about it, never said anything about it. I don't want to be involved. I don't want this to be my fucking business. And that's a very, like, there's a lot of incentives associated with that as a person, because it's like, it's very attractive to kind of stay out of other people's business. But I think ultimately, like, in the situation that you're talking about, even when it wasn't fun for you to be so public about it, I mean, it was essential. Like, do you feel like you would have been a coward if you would have died a coward if you had never really spoken about the abuse you went through?
It wasn't, you know what? It wasn't even so much about me. I couldn't sleep at night knowing that he was continuously doing what he did.
So you had reason to believe that he was still abusing kids?
Of course. He was doing this for decades.
Right.
And, you know, like, even from my neighborhood, Bronx River Projects, like, when I tell you out of 100 kids, he probably got 85 of them.
Like, in the whole projects? Like, that's an astonishing percentage. Like,
you got to understand something. It's not just Bronx River here. Right. That's why when you see certain rappers like Peter Guns, shout out to Peter Guns, he done made it clear, like, yo, we knew it. We heard about, everybody heard about this.
Right.
And Peter Guns is like 10 years older than me. So these guys is like, it's stair steps of children that Afrika Bambaataa was violating. And then you have to look at him. Some people looked at this man as if he was a hero. You know, so you have parents in the community that trusted in him that trusted in the organization of the Zulu Nation, and he broke that.
Right.
In the most foulest way that you can.
Have they made attempts on your life or done anything like violently or street oriented to try to silence you? Have you heard through the grapevine that there's people that want to do stuff to you because of you revealing all this?
Well, see, you got to understand something. On YouTube, it's like they think I'm just a regular YouTube. But when it comes to the Zulu Nation, I was one of their strongest soldiers, so they know better. Now, I'm not going to sit up there and say that they don't have no plots and no plans, but they know it's not going to come easy.
Right. And I mean, to be fair, I feel like we've basically seen Afrika Bambaataa disappear since you started to come out and speak about it, right? Has he really made any like appearances on social media? It's hard to imagine him going and doing an interview. I don't know exactly who would even have him, but it's hard to imagine him being able to like even correspond with the public in such a way that, like, given how much you've aired out about him and how much corroboration there appears to be from other sources.
See, that's the thing right there. A man that's as strong as he is still backed by a lot of artists in the industry. Notice that nobody won't say nothing about him.
Right.
And this is the shit that bugs me out. Nobody won't say nothing about him. They all decided to just be quiet. Like, my whole thing is, why nobody, when you see LL Cool J, he's Zulu, ask him, how do you feel about this? When you see Ice-T, how do you feel about the big homie Afrika Bambaataa? You see what I'm saying? When you see Ice Cube, ask him what's on his mind. Q-Tip, Queen Latifah. This half the industry is Zulu.
Wow.
But you won't see none of them say nothing. Now, they all done heard the stories, but everybody's silent. Why would you be silent with something so evil and so foul?
Yeah.
On top of the fact that Afrika Bambaataa is still one of the most dangerous men in this country. People sleep on him. He's dangerous. You gotta think that when you take it back to the early days of New York, that man converted every gang into the Zulu Nation throughout the whole city.
Really?
And you got Zulus in Brazil, London, all over the world. The numbers died off ever since I came out, but they still exist.